Coming up in All Angles, leader of the PNP for the past 3 years, MP for East Central St. Andrew for over 25, former Minister of Finance, National Security, Health and more. He now faces his ultimate challenge, his first general election as party president.
Our mission is to win.
Dr. Peter Phillips joins me now. So much for joining us. This is All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson-Millen. Welcome to our viewers on onespotmedia.com. For the full hour for this program, Dr. Peter Phillips, President of the PNP, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. I've heard your views on polls, but nonetheless, I'm going to ask you anyway for your results to the polls we've been carrying this week. Today, party standings came out. 16-point gap between the PNP at 20 and the JLP at 36. Can be good news for you.
No, but I've lived through sufficient polls to know that the real poll that counts is the one on the day. If just going back in 2007, we were told that we would win. We were ahead by supposedly 9 points, 9 points, somewhere there. We lost those elections. In 2011, it was said that we would inevitably lose. We won those elections. 2016,
it was close.
Well, the elections, were, but we had the advantage, it was said, but we lost those elections. So, I mean, all told, what I think I have learned from that, especially even looking at the experience in the Caribbean this year, St. Kitts, Guyana, Trinidad, is that what really counts is the polls on the day. And I am very confident that in the seat-by-seat count, that we will hold on to those that we have, and we are targeting a number of seats, battleground seats you could call them, where we think we will take a few more. If we take 3 more, we form the government and hold on to those we have.
Having said that, though, when we look at your numbers as well as the party's numbers, 45.9% of the respondents rated your leadership as poor or very poor, 38% as average, only 16% said good or very good. When you look at the party, about 43% said poor or very poor, 41% average, and only 16% again saying good or very good. So the public's low rating of you as a leader and the party under your leadership must be of concern to you. When you introspect, why do you think that is?
Well, I'm not going to take issue with the polls, but just to say that that my experience has told me that public opinion goes and comes. It can change in a twinkling, even if you accept what is being said. We have seen leaders and parties go up and down. And in this particular instance, I think that in the contest that counts, that the PNP is in a very, very good position to contest these elections. There's momentum on the ground that we see.
That's not an answer, though, because your ratings have never been very high. So when you sit
depends on when you're talking about.
Since your period as leadership, you've never had a period where your approval ratings have been, say, 60% in terms of good and very good. So why do you think that is?
I think that there's a communications issue that we are now getting on top of. There is a failure that has probably existed for some time to communicate even the achievements before. We have allowed the party's image to be structured and proclaimed by others. I think that in many respects we are seeing a momentum shift in that direction. Will it be sufficient? The elections will tell.
Why have you allowed that to happen, though? Because that communications issue is something the party has been criticized for several years. And now, 2 weeks from an election, you say we're now getting on top of that.
Why did we allow that to happen? I think there were many. It is in part that finding the right mix. We have identified the problem for some time, but finding the right combination of resources. Eventually, we looked outside of the party to get those resources and found we believe we have the right support now in that regard. We tried others before, but we had to make adjustments. So, and then there was a whole question of having the resources that were necessary to do that, and we had to make a decided effort to go out and get the resources to be able to buy these particular skills that are out there in the marketplace. And I think there was a particular issue that the party faced, which is of a generational, if you will, change. The fact that a lot of the key expertise that ran the party's overarching campaign operations, communications operations, had to some degree moved on, and we had not adequately as a party, long before me, in a sense, made preparations for succession planning.
You're citing external factors, though. Is there nothing you take responsibility for in terms of whether you are resonating with the voters, with the public?
Well, certainly going out there in the street, there is, I accept responsibility, and then the buck stops with me, with everything. Now, you're asking me to make an assessment that the polls are all, and I don't share that view, but I accept when all is said and done, the buck stops with me. But I have been through in life before many challenges. I remember trying to get the IMF program together. There were those who were proclaiming catastrophe in the period 2012 to 13. And indeed, it was a very testing time. But ultimately, we not only came through that, but I think we managed to achieve a pretty good run with stabilizing the economy, reducing the debt and everything. So I accept that there are challenges now. I accept the responsibility for the challenges, but I am not certainly going to roll over and play dead because of some, what perceived bad news.
You spoke there, you used the phrase generational change. Again, does it concern you that, according to the polls, your largest support is coming from the older people? 55 to 64, that's the set, that's your main voting bloc, supporters, 65 and over second, and then 45 to 54 third. So you're not resonating with the youth?
Well, again, it's a matter of just how much you assign to the polling data. We think we have managed to get a very significant following among some young people, that it varies from constituency to constituency and area to area. But I am particularly hopeful now, and I think that when you look at a lot of the social media commentaries, that is certainly showing the pickup in that area.
We actually have a question from a member of the public in relation to an issue involving youth. Can we go to that now?
Good evening to you, Dion. Good evening to your viewing audience. Good evening to you, Dr. Peter Phillips. I have two questions. If you're to form the next government of Jamaica, what are your plans for young people and our youths? They're the unattached youths, persons who cannot find any job at this time. What are your plans going forward after September 3, after this election? My second question, in your constituency of East Central St. Andrew, there are quite a number of garage persons who work on vehicles. What are your plans to develop those small businesses? I know you have spoken to that aspect of developing small businesses. What are your plans to do that and to help those upcoming technicians within your constituency? Thank you.
Well, very, very important issues. First of all, as I have said, one of the most important things is to bring those micro enterprises and small businesses, which are really at the heart of the production and certainly a critical part of the employment potential of the country, into the mainstream of the economy. So we are making provision, quite frankly, to provide financial support for these micro enterprises and small businesses. We think that we can mobilize in excess of $100 million in this regard, and twin it with training to bring a lot of these small business enterprises, including the garages of East Central, St. Andrew, into the mainstream. And then there is the issue of training overall. And again, a lot of support, not just for the heart programs and tertiary level activities, not only in heart community colleges, but also to provide training on the job and to provide incentives for businesses to provide on-the-job training for those, particularly those who graduate from secondary schools and from tertiary institutions.
All right, we're just about at the break, so let's go to the break. We come back with Dr. Peter Phillips. Remember our hashtag, it's TVJ, all angles. We're back in a moment.